Alright, shalom, shalom. I want to give all praise. Alright, shalom, shalom, shalom. I want to give all praises. No more wisdom and teaming for real, cause based on what Esau, he's been doing, based on what he's shit. Saying it's gonna happen, tell us to not be ignorant of Satan's devices. Let me get that. Second Corinthians. Lest Satan should take advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. One of his devices is false flag. That's how Esau uses his sword. A lot of well, it is a weapon. It's actually a weapon. It's a device of his. And scriptures also tell us not to be ignorant in a great matter or small. Could definitely have in the works, And went on this shit buffering. Wonder why. This article right here. All market cyber attack is false flag cyber attack is now imminent. Yeah, I wonder why. Esau's buffering here. Web page not available. You don't fucking say. Okay, now it's available. False attack. Smith. P them of a different outlining a demic of a completely different nature, whereas what they refer to as an impending cyber attack with DVOC like characteristics. The program agenda at the WEF was titled Cyber Polygon and headed with unsettling zeal by globalist Klaus Schwab. The WEF and Schwab are best known for two things. Number one, their involvement in a war game called Event 201, which simulated the global spread of the Crown Royal cases, that type of demic. This simulation was held 2 months before the real thing happened in early 2020, and a majority of the measures played out in the game were in fact implemented almost immediately following the outbreak. Klaus Schwab's excited announcement that the demic was a perfect opportunity to institute what he calls the Great Reset of the global economy, along with the rise of the Fourth Industrial Revolution, which is the complete centralization of world trade and governance into a global socialist empire, so-called socialist, right? Well, socialist and fascist at the same time. I'm gonna say that where you own nothing, have no privacy, and like it, quote unquote. The fact that the WEF was so prescient when it came to the COVID demic was quite a miracle. It's almost if they knew it was going to happen, and their political friends in various nations wasted no time carrying out passing those types of laws, man. But something happened that seemed to throw a monkey wrench into their plan. Vince 201 predicted an initial death toll around 65 million people, but this didn't happen. In fact, the median infection fatality rate, was only 0.27%. Devalk wasn't killing enough people, and the public was starting to question the efficiency of the lockdowns, the useless mask rules, and the need to take this experimental, jump shot with no long-term testing to prove it's safe. In the U.S. specifically, conservative states began to rise up and block the agenda. Today, the CDC and the federal government have declared the removal of most mandates, and even leftist blue states are beginning to relent. However, most conservative red states have been without mandates for a year to over a year and a half. Have been without restrictions this whole time, and the government is acting as they have just allowed us to be free again. The truth is, the globalists at the WEF and the partners abroad failed in the effort to institute medical tyranny, at least in the U.S. and in certain parts of Europe. The agenda collapsed because the science was against them in every aspect. They had nothing. Where it set 9.7 of people safe from, that it was impossible to engineer enough fear and enough for the population to get them to relinquish their freedoms. So for those of us that have been tracking these events carefully, the alarm bells quickly already started ringing when the WEF switched gears and suddenly shifted focus to a cyber attack narrative. Was this plan B? In April 2021, I published an article titled "The Globalists Will Need Another Crisis in America as the Reset Agenda Fails." In that article, I outlined the most likely scenarios for the next disaster event, which included a war in Ukraine as well as a global cyber attack that disrupts the supply chain. In this article, I stated the media and Biden administration are very renewed tensions, confrontation with China over Taiwan. Let me show in. I have no doubt that the establishment will try to claim the liberty movement is a movement for free, not a movement for freedom. Turf movement created by the Russians to stabilize America, which they've been doing that, man. That any resistance to their agenda means you're with Russia. This has been the leftist media propaganda strategy for years now, so why would they stop? Yeah, they've been doing that shit, man. They're part. It's just another, just their viewpoints don't go along with the system. For that interruption. In June 2021, I wrote more specifically on the suspicious nature of Cyber Polygon in my article. Cyber Polygon, will the next globalist war game lead to another convenient catastrophe? July of 2021, I wrote an article entitled, "What if the next major cyber attack targeted the internet?" Yup. And I made this observation. I believe that they're going to aim at that. In June of this year, where there was an internet outage event that led to large swaths of the web going dark, including a number of mainstream news sites. June of 2021, right? It's June. Including a number of mainstream news sites, Amazon, eBay, Twitch, Reddit, and a host of government websites went down. All this happened when content delivery network CDN company Fastly experienced a bug. Although Amazon had its website back online within 20 minutes, the brief outage cost the company over 5.5 million in sales, and that's just one website. Fastly identified and fixed the problem for the internet. What Von Clausewitz would have called a swerve punked, which I don't know what that is. Which I have no little doubt at this stage that false is true as well, man. They both want a new world order. It's about who runs it. As I've noted in the past, Vladimir Putin is a longtime associate of numerous globalists. His friendship with New World Order ghoul Henry Kissinger started decades ago, and they continue to meet lunches as Kissinger asked. Putin has also maintained a steady relationship to the WEF, and Russia even joined Klaus Schwab's Fourth Industrial Revolution network just last year. The claim that Putin is anti-globalist is a lie. He is deeply involved in the globalist system and always has. Global Edomite supremacy, man. Global Edomite supremacy. It's like it for that. The global Edomite supremacists. The globalists are playing both sides of the Ukraine conflict. This is reality. It's very important to understand and grasp the fact. Otherwise, you will not be able to grasp the events that happen next. Putin recently, they both want that new world order, man. And Putin recently threatened Western governments with a reprisal the like which they have never seen before if they tried to interfere in Ukraine. The problem is many in the mainstream and alternative media automatically assume this was a threat of nuclear war. I don't think this is what Putin was referring to. I have another theory. And this cyber attack shit, they've been throwing this shit in our faces for a while, man. The globalists are unlikely to spend the past several decades building up one of the most complex technocratic control grids in history to track and dominate the public, only to then annihilate it all in the blink of an eye with nukes. At least not yet. A post-nuke environment would be impossible for them to control. Well, they want to take out most of us, but first they finna do this, man. What is more likely, in my view, is a massive cyber attack that targets the functionality of the internet itself, and it would have to happen relatively soon. Yeah, they're trying to control the internet, man, but it's hard to control. The amount of economic and business operations tied to the web, this is part of what Esau, he wants chapter 8, Amos chapter 8, verse 11. Power. Even to the east, they shall run to and fro to seek the word of Yahweh and shall not find it. Shall the fair virgins in thirst. You 2/3, man. And say, that power, O Dan, liveth in the manner of Beersheba liveth, even they shall fall and never rise up again, man. Hey, you 2/3 that be doing the same sort of thing right now, man. And hey, y'all gonna be without this truth, man. be without this word, man. From like that's it, man. Like, because the elect is gonna have been sealed by this time, and of business, the web is staggering. Even if and the internet was to go down for a mere 2 weeks, the repercussions to our market and to our supply chain would be devastating. By extension, the benefits to the globalists would be immense. They can implement fixed filters and firewalls in any part of the web they don't like, including the alternative media, and claim that this is to protect the internet from possible sources of viral spread. They could whittle the web down to only a handful of approved corporate and government sites, all in the name of protecting the integrity of the net. Furthermore, such a attack would be a perfect scapegoat for the already crashing economy and rising inflation. At that point, the central banks that are truly responsible for financial instability could simply say that everything was about to go back to normal until Russia or China spread the cyber virus. And maybe Russia will be involved, but will not be Putin that gives the order, but it will be his globalist partners behind the curtain. The hype machine surrounding Ukraine is on overdrive right now. It's a little bizarre to me how much panic and indignation is being drummed up. It's as if people have forgotten that the U.S. government just spent over a decade devastating a country like Iraq for no good reason. No one seems to be mentioning the hypocrisy and all that war against Russia when the U.S. campaigns in Iraq killed hundreds of thousands of civilians and very few countries batted an eye about it. Clearly, the controlled media is trying to convince the Western people to support direct military confrontation with Russia over a conflict that has nothing to do with us. There are even numerous GOP neocons out there. Lindsey Graham looking at you, campaigning for true conservatives to go along with the war footing. I don't think it's gaining much traction, but what has worked as an effective manipulation against conservatives in the past? False flags, right? The globalists need another Pearl Harbor, a 9/11 attack, or something even bigger. They need something that will enrage the American population, specifically conservatives. They need a crisis of economic epic proportions to lure us into an emotional response and abandonment of logic. They also need a scapegoat disaster that they can use to lay the blame for the impending economic crisis. I predict this event will come in the form of a large-scale cyber attack, and the escalation of events suggests to me that they will try to implement such an attack in the near term, perhaps within the next couple of months and certainly before the year is over. Well, this was published in 2021, so you crossed the year is over that part out. But it can still happen. This is not about Russia, it's not about Ukraine. The real war is between free peoples and the globalists. Really, it's about Jacob and Esau. Scratch that, it's about Jacob and Esau. When they are removed and these puppets are removed, the majority of these disasters will stop. As long as they remain in power, the crisis events will only accelerate, increase the frequency until they find something that works, something that makes most people willing to give up their liberties in exchange for the false promise of security, which these devils is gonna do, man. I'll do that shit, but I believe that I believe that they also gonna do this, which you could have. I believe that they also finna do that. Finna do this, keep that shit in your mind. My the shit I have. I think this shit might happen. The Edomite is slipping up whenever the picture, man. But that's just, and I think they use it to demonize opposition among them, and then go after us. Use that to bring that, that And I think they also might pull this shit. Now this is, I'm speaking as a man, but I think they might pull this shit. The coming assassination false flag posted on June 10th, also on June 10th, 2021 by, this individual, Z1776. Imagine this scenario, faced with the Joe Biden whose brain is obviously melting, who is losing even the sympathy of those who now regret voting for him, and running up against rising opposition to their tyrannical schemes. The world elite decides to assassinate the U.S. president, turning him into a martyr and providing pretext for greater power grabs, war, or conquest expeditions designed to further the New World Order. Esau might do this shit, bro. Esau might do this shit. This is World War III, the New World Order ahead. Around the time of military draft for Esau might pull this, man. Around the time of the installation of the fraudulent Republican chief Joe Biden, following the election swindle operation committed by, which is, he says that Russia, China, Iran, man, fuck all that. Fuck all that. Another Alex Jones of Infowars fame that we've entered the era of the false flag. Might as well be stated that the sky is blue. It's obvious to students that of his opposition. He was a puppet of Esau. Was built the elite. So he was which did not happen. Also of Crown Royal, and make him the patron saint of the jump shot. It still could happen. It still could happen. Oh shit! It made a comeback. It still could happen. Or they might use something else. Assassination. They might say they might blow up, or do some shit like that and blame it on Iran, which is possible. War with Russia, World War III. Going with World War III with Russia, and Russia and Iran are allies. Say that Iran did it, and it's revenge for the assassination. But if a was a right-wing extremist group or some bitter Trump supporters, Dick's false flag Capitol siege, attempted coup, and assassination with hiding it just in case, so that, let me do that again, so that they would follow me. People that can't hear, they will follow me. The military could be mobilized against extremist groups like Oath Keepers or against seditious individuals like Chuck Baldwin in Montana or Alex Jones in Texas or somebody like that. They could pull some. Let's think about it. They done it before, right? Veiled on in a time of turmoil like this to ram sweeping gun control laws down our throats, just like Congress foisted. But it'd be used to demonize people that think like that, just like Congress foisted the dastardly, Patriot Act, because that basically took out the Fourth Amendment act upon us after 9/11 with anything like officially what he brought out about the Constitution basically not being not like we're not under the Constitution since 1933, since they declared that emergency back then. But this is Civil War faster than gun confiscation after the chaos there, man. We gotta seize all the guns, man. And then what that would trigger was a civil war, Furthermore, consider what might happen if Kamala Harris was also eliminated in a mass attack. If our leadership was decimated in one fell swoop, who would take over? Something in me, whether it's real or not, right? Something in me doubts whether the powers that be would ever permit Kamala Harris, let alone crazy assassination. Such a time as we know the known machinery of state cramped down on dissenters and sections, then which both sides is control, man. But elections, then which both sides is control, man. But Esau could do that. In a sudden change in the presidency, we certainly in the era of the false flag. Both sides you starting to have some actual resistance against